When we're leading a generation, it's important not only to lead well, but to listen well. Young men have a lot to say, and today I want to tell you a story about a young influencer that changed my path and my direction. This is Barry with FatherSeekers, and this is the podcast, Teach Me to Father. Today, I want to tell you about a concept that I think is super important that we've lost. We have lost the ability to listen to the younger generation. And I think as older guys, we get frustrated sometimes because they don't listen to us, the wisdom that we have. Not to get sidetracked, but older men they really need to earn their position with the younger generation by being wise and respectful and honorable to them. And I know that doesn't come over easy sometimes for us older guys, but it's the truth that we have to earn the right to be wise, to be a sage in their lives. I want to tell you a story today. I want to tell you my friend, Sam Cornelison. Did I say that right?
Cornelissen.
Sam Cornelison. We were together the other night with some friends at a Bible study thing in a garage with a bunch of guys who hang out together. And Sam, you were talking to me about the podcast, and you leaned over and you said something that totally changed the direction for part of what we do here. That's why I wanted to have you on to talk about not only the influence that your generation has on those who have gone before you, how important it is for your generation to understand that they have a voice and their voice is important and their voice needs to be heard by my generation because there's a lot of great exchange that goes on. So we were sitting in a garage, all the guys doing the Bible study thing. Right before it started, you leaned over to me and you said,
the seeker and father seeker, it's for men as well who have good fathers, men who aren't fathers, but they are seeking to be a father.
That's golden. That totally, since you said that, that has revolutionized a part of the missing link. It's filled in the block for some things here. I've never played on the prequel side of Seeker as much as I have played on the proceeding part of FatherSeekers. Like it's the after game. Now we've got to figure out how we lost and win. Talk to me more about that before we jump into your story. Tell me more about what that is to you and what that means to you about the whole piece of seeking fatherhood wisdom.
Yeah. So I am, like I just said, I'm not a father. I'm single, but I do plan on being a father one day. And that's a tough thing to navigate. What does a father look like? And, when I'm going to be a father, it's a completely different age than when my dad was a father. 30 years later, being a father is completely different. And in that new time, fatherhood, fast forward 30 years from when my dad was a father, not everything that he did is going to work nowadays for me. The raising a kid in 2030 is going to be a little different than raising a kid in 2000. And I need to seek how to do that. It's something that, I strive to be a good father one day. And in the meantime, why not figure out how to do that rather than learn as I go?
That's great. That is super. I have said, and all the old guys that hang out with you have said, you're an old soul in a young body. Just a very smart, wise guy. Talk more about that. We're not getting ahead of ourselves. We're sort of introducing the whole idea, the whole concept here, but talk more about about that piece of seeking how to be a good father from transitioning from one generation to another? Talk more about that.
I mean, the thing that comes to mind first in just navigating that, like, social media wasn't a thing when I was young. I mean, there was like, I think Instagram like just started and Facebook was around, but now like I personally disconnect from social media just because it's too much for me.
Hmm.
I don't get any value out of that in my day-to-day life. I think most people in my generation struggle with the scrolling. I couldn't figure out how to manage it, so I just deleted it. I have social media on my computer. If I really need to check in and see what people are up to, I can look on my computer, but I know I'm not going to be spending an hour scrolling on my computer. But I think that's just going to be a big piece of raising kids when I raise kids is social media. Who knows what it's going to be like in 10 years when my kids will
There's no telling, man.
want an Instagram account or whatever is new that day. So just things like that, the culture is going to be different than when I was a child. And the people that I've got guys in the church who have young kids, the ones that have 5, 7, 10-year-olds, them teaching me the ways of how they handled things with their kids when I bring my kids along, that's going to be the men that I go to, are the people that are fathers now.
So you've got your dad, and I've heard you mention a couple of times your grandparents. Like, they were pretty cool.
Yep.
Big influencers as well. Then your dad, your mom's super. Your dad's really cool. He's just a cool guy. Probably the most laid back guy. He will never have a heart attack or stress out, be anxious. He is just so laid back. So there's a line of really good men. Like, there's a really good line of men. And then there are other guys that are in your life that are in your circle. And those guys are the ones you were referring to that had the younger kids. And you're watching them navigate in this culture. I think you brought up a really interesting point that I hope guys, everybody gets from, regardless of generation. One of the things that frustrates me with younger guys sometimes, and this has been a process to learn, because I've got kids who are late 20s and late 30s. They're in between there. So I've been watching that evolution and how they grew up, and then now how the things that they're navigating in the same piece as with you, that you had a really great set of men in your life, and now you've got another sort of petri dish kind of a thing you're watching with the guys in your life at church. So there's this over time, you are preparing yourself. Talk about the importance of how I don't want to use a hard word. Tell me, how particular do people have to be right now, the guys your age who are not married, who don't have kids? They want to be a good father, but there's a process that they're learning. They just can't. In other words, you mentioned it a while ago and you said, I just didn't want to wait till I had kids and do the trial and error thing. Talk about that piece, how important it is to begin now to be a good father.
I think most people that make mistakes, they're going to wish that they learned how to avoid that mistake sooner. And I don't know many of the mistakes, but I do know what a good father looks like. So I might not always be intentionally seeking what a good father is, but if I surround myself by good fathers, that stuff is just, that's going to be the normal. You know, if I'm around all these guys and they're showing love to their kids, or I'm seeing what loving discipline looks like from a father, from a man that I look up to, that stuff, whether I'm actively seeking what does discipline look like or not, that's just going to build in my subconscious of, this is what loving father, this is how he disciplines his kids. So I think honestly, a good part of it is just, it's not even intentional seeking, but from the seeking of good fathers in my life, that stuff will just subconsciously go down into my brain. And one day that's just going to be there. And then I can give God the glory for 5 years ago when I saw that man discipline his kids.
So we're sort of, you're building in that tacit knowledge early, like you're learning this way. You've waved a flag over something that I've never really paid attention to before. And that is when you have these blanks in your life of information, like most young guys, I need to get married. So they get married and then I'm going to have kids, but they didn't do any preparatory work for that. You've raised a really good flag about that gap in the lives of many of us, that we made that mistake and we had to pay the hard price when we had kids. Like there was no manual, there was no YouTube thing when we had kids. You had old people mad because you couldn't keep your kids quiet in a restaurant, and you didn't. If they were my kids, I would. And that, literally, it doesn't work that way anymore. And I think it's by design. So there's this preparatory piece that you've raised the flag on my vision set, and I really appreciate that. Let's talk about who you are. You've talked a little bit about your dad. Tell us a little about your family, your mom, your dad, that whole picture.
Yeah. So I've been blessed with my family through and through. Like I hear stories of other people's family, and I have it so good. Like my dad was a loving dad. My mom, loving mom. I say was, still are. My brothers, I've got an older brother, Andrew, who's 30 and has kids. He's 32 now. 32. And then I've got a younger brother, Benny, he's 22, and just a loving family. We're always together. My nephews come over on Fridays, and Andrew will come and we'll talk. Like they're my best friends. And I'm just so blessed to have such a good family. And it's been like that my whole life. And I'm the middle child. And that comes with, a little bit of a different place or role in the family as well. But I also, I'm grateful for the role that I play in my family. I know that I have a positive impact on my family, and they know that they all have a positive impact on the family as well.
That is a very wise statement, that I know the part that I play in my family, like my role. Said I play a role in my family. I wished that younger guys knew how important their role was in their family, like significantly important. The whole role model in a man's life, not only playing roles, but learning how to play those roles and observing those roles played. I think you've brought real clarity to that with this conversation that we've been having ongoing. And I can't tell you, it's just totally changed the way I see things now. So I really appreciate it. So in the last 2 or 3 years of your life, what are some of the significant changes that you've experienced in your life, and how you have crossed some roads, made some turns, and changed trajectory in your life? What are some of those things that's happened to you?
The biggest one is coming back to Christ. I grew up in the church, just was always there, non-denominational Christian my whole life. My parents were always bringing us to church on Sundays. And then what I'm finding with the younger guys and girls in my age is those type of kids, they tend to fall away during college. And that's for sure what happened to me. I'd show up on a Christmas or an Easter or a baby dedication whenever I had to be there. But it was never, I'm not going to go out on a Saturday night because I have church on Sunday. Now it's, I'm not doing that. I got church in the morning. I got to be there to serve at 7 a.m. I'm not going out, and that desire isn't there anymore. Thank God. But that mindset switch of, okay, this is the priority. It's not number 10 on my list of priorities anymore. It's number 1. So everything goes through that number 1 priority filter now. And that is by far been the biggest switch in my life over the last couple of years.
So that not only made a significant directional change, but what about the clarity? And I've never heard you talk about this, but what about the clarity that brought to you in regard to your personal identity and understanding the roles that you play? Like, how did that whole picture roll out of that?
It was clarity is the perfect word. That's what it was. High school struggled with being insecure, identity. I was doing everything to try to impress. And now I'm only trying to impress one person, and that's God. There aren't these decisions that are made because of how someone else might think or look at me. Decisions are made on what's God going to think about this and how am I going to feel from it?
How, as you're talking, I'm thinking about back when I was your age and like all of the struggles that I was maneuvering through. Like I had just made the decision to go to college. Like I went to college late, and how much, I don't have a better word for this, how much growing up tension, transitioning from high school to young adulthood to manhood, how much did this new direction for your life relieve tension from all those decisions to grow forward into the next level, the next stage?
Sure. Thing that comes to mind is that tension now has a reason. I see
That's really good.
the tension in high school, college, that was self-inflicted tension. And yeah, there's a reason for that nowadays. And now that I see that as well. But now if I'm going through something, it's okay, why am I going through this? It's not, whoa, me. I didn't, back then I put that on myself versus, okay, what is God trying to put me through here to learn at a later date? One of my favorite verses is, I believe it's John 13:7. As Jesus said, you don't understand now what you're going through, but one day you will. Something like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite verses because it's almost a better version of everything happens for a reason. And I see that a lot in my struggles.
Let's talk about that reason, because I heard a guy say one time, he said, everything does happen for a reason, but sometimes they're just really dumb reasons because you did something stupid. Like he was talking to a bunch of young guys. Yeah. And I started thinking about that because in the church world, we have these little cliches that make no sense, but they fluff up our conscience to not really dive in to figure out what happened. That whole picture, what I'm hearing you say as you're talking, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what I'm hearing you say is that with this identity shift, this identity change, that there's work, there's tension, there's decision making, difficult decision making, but you've created the tension that comes with that is created by your decision to pursue a different purpose in your life.
The tension is now to level up rather than to get back to where I was.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Wow. So what is it that you do for work? What are you? What is your world like?
Yeah, I'm a pretty unique one in that spectrum. I sell on Amazon. I do online arbitrage, which is a fancy word for I find stuff on sale or a cheap price, and then I sell it for a higher price on Amazon. I sell things that most people wouldn't ever think that I sell. I sell a lot of makeup, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I don't know if you put this stuff on your eyes or your butt. I don't know what you do with
whatever you do with it.
But
just put it somewhere.
All I do is I look at some charts and some sales data, and I make a purchasing decision based off that. So the way I explain it to a lot of people is, let's say Macy's having a buy one, get one free. I'm getting it for 50% off. It's being sold on Amazon for retail price, and I take that margin Jeff, Amazon Jeff, he likes to take a pretty big cut, but I still figure out ways to make it work.
Yeah. That is a different world altogether, especially in the culture that we live now. People would rather shop online, as I understand it, a little bit of research that I've done. It is literally, I ordered books the other day for some research. I ordered them at it was like 6 or, I don't know, it was afternoon. And they were here before noon the next day. It's like,
It's crazy.
yeah, I can't wrap my mind around that. It's amazing. So you make your money by finding deals, buying well, and then selling those to a world market.
Yep.
What is the tension that goes with that kind of work?
Might need you to clear that.
There's pressure in the world of sales, right? And there seems to be lots of people online selling right now. How do you do it and do so successfully? How do you make that happen?
So a lot of the stuff that I buy, it's brand name products. So in a sense, I'm just working off the back of an already built brand, but I still am providing a service. As you just said, you get your stuff in a day, versus if you buy the makeup from Macy's, you got to pay $8 in shipping. It's going to take 5 to 7 days to get to you, versus when it's coming from me, you're paying whatever I'm selling it for, and you're getting it in a day. So there is some value that I provide in what I do, even though reseller doesn't have the greatest connotation around it. Scalper gets thrown in there sometimes, and I think people don't understand what that really means, but I do provide value. And I guess maybe I have to remind myself that sometimes. But I do see tension in... I'm struggling with this one.
Don't struggle with it. You're an entrepreneur. You're a young entrepreneur. You started this business. Maybe a better question would be, when you started, it was at this level, like the competition, the way you do things, and then there's this tension of growing and scaling up, and leveling up and scaling up. How has that world changed, that online world changed from the time you started to today? To me, because it seems like that it's a really high tension business.
Yeah.
Intense.
Yeah. There's a lot of tension there in the fact that things are always changing. You have to pivot, you have to adapt. The stuff I was selling when I first started, I don't sell it anymore. I used to sell shoes, like, strictly. I used to drive down to the Nike outlets, load my car up with shoes, come home and ship them out to Amazon. That was what I did when I first started. Now I don't sell shoes at all. I don't touch any of the product myself, and I sell completely different items. But there's a lot of tensions in the Amazon space and entrepreneurial space where things come up and you have to change. And that's just the unexpected of, I work for myself, but also Amazon can do whatever they want because they're Amazon. So I'm definitely still working for the man, but I'm on his playground, playing by my own rules.
You're doing your own thing.
Yeah.
I wanted to point out that you made a decision to work for yourself and to be an entrepreneur. Talk about for a minute how important it is to make that decision early. And the way I want to frame that up is, I've heard a quote several times by several different people, and they've sort of made it their own and twisted it a little different way, but in gist, it goes this way. Most men die at 30 and are buried at 70. And I want to frame up for people that are listening how important it is while you're young to make a decision. Now, it doesn't mean you can't if you're older, or if you're my age or whatever, that you can't do that. But it seems to me it would be a little bit more important when you don't have that much to lose to try it early on and to figure that out. So first part of the question is, how important is it to decide that young? And the other side of that question is, how did you determine what you wanted to do?
So it's important to decide to do it young, I think, because I have almost that security blanket underneath me. I don't have a family that depends on me. I don't have the time restraint of a family. I have a lot of freedom to do whatever I would like with my time. And most of that time goes into work and building this business that will hopefully one day be put on autopilot. And then I just have this business that I built in my early 20s.
That's really good.
And not, I think a lot of people wish that they had a business at when they were raising their family that they could just have on autopilot that they built in their 20s. I think a lot of comfort and security can come from just having that financial freedom and, or at least another income compared on top of a regular job or whatever it may be. So I think it's important to have it done, or not to have it done, but to, execute at when you have the idea. If I waited until
That's really
now
good.
to
That's
start
good.
this, I would be, okay, now it's time to maybe start looking to start a family. I gotta get a duplex. I gotta do this. But now I have to start a business. I already started a business, and now that big piece which is the money security is, for a good part of it is secure, that piece for me. And I did it in a time where I had the freedom of time. I didn't have people relying on me. My parents were always very supportive. I haven't worked a real job since I was 17 years old. I've worked for myself and been entrepreneurial since I was 14. I used to flip Jordans. I liked these Jordans, and I bought 3 pair, sold 2 pair, and it covered the cost of the 1 pair I kept for myself.
That's cool.
And that's how it all started. Is I was like, oh, there's something to this.
Yeah.
So I've had multiple business ventures, and Amazon is the one that seemed legit, something I could show up every day and check in and check out and cash out a paycheck. And that was very important for me to do in the last 10 years of my life. I've always been involved in business in some sort. And I got a lot of stuff failed. There's a reason why it's only Amazon now and not the 5 other things I tried, because I was able to make those mistakes when I was 15, 16, 20, 22 of, I had this time and this freedom, and now I dialed in on something that worked. You don't think about the time, like the R&D time, and how many years that could take before you figure out what's actually working.
Yeah. As you look back and just at the whole process, like you just described a 10-year process, and it started while you were in high school, which I think that's so cool. Like now kids are making $1 million a month by clipping.
Yep.
I can't even fathom that, but the brain power of some of these kids, what they're doing. A little bit ahead of ourselves, but what would you say to a 20-something who was not married, who's been toggling back and forth, oscillating about, hey, I don't want to work for somebody. That's fine if you do, but I really feel like I've got this entrepreneurial bug. I want to find him and see what's up. What would you say to those guys? What would you say? Here's a 1, 2, 3 thing to check and look at.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it. Find something you're somewhat passionate about. Like if I was 14 today, I would probably be one of those Clipper kids of just sitting in my bed every night. I'm already watching these videos of people I like. Why not mark down the funny points or informational points or motivational points, and then the next night go and clip them and upload them and try to make some money off of it. If you're already watching content, it's not too hard to note down when you laughed at something and then go upload it. Or anything else. Like I really liked the garage sailing when I was younger. The flip always got me fired up.
Gary V.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So like that, just find something you're passionate about. Etsy, you can pretty much make whatever you want and start to sell it. Amazon, if there's ventures that I have yet to do, but I know I have a passion for it. They're down the road in the 3 or 5 year plan of once I get some more time back from Amazon, but there's always going to be this hunger of something in you when you have the entrepreneurial spirit. It's not going to go away, but the longer you take to act on it, the worse you're going to feel about not acting on it.
Is there a regret and a bitterness that comes with that?
Yeah. I mean, there are things that I wish I would have, that I still want to start doing that I wish I would have started a year ago. And I look at people who are doing what I want to start doing and they're seeing success. I'm like, I know I can do this. I just have to do it, and I'm still struggling with that with other ventures that I want to do.
So looking down the road right now in this season of your life, in this stage, your focus is on growing as a healthy man, a man of God, growing your business. And when it's time to consider relationships, you're trusting in the timing of God and his plan, like all of this working together. Talk to the impatient guy who thinks he needs to go get married before he decides that he wants to entrepreneur. Talk to that guy.
I think she's going to like you a lot more if you have a plan.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good.
Like a part of why I want to build businesses is so they can support my family one day. And for a woman to enjoy that, for not that is part of me, but it is, that security, it's going to boost you up a couple points if you have a successful business under your belt in the dating world. But as long as that's for the right reason, to have more time with your kids, to maybe if your wife wants to be a stay-at-home mom, for that to be an option. Those are the foundational reasons to why I am building my business. It's not because I want more money. It's to have more comfort and freedom and stability in when I am a father.
That's good. It's really good. So there's a settledness to this process you have. Like, I'm not trying to fit a piece out of sequence to make the sequence work all together. It's really good. Let's shift now how this whole picture of your life, you've received a lot, you've gathered a lot, you're observing a lot. And I think one of the most significant things I've observed in your life is you don't gather experience and wisdom from older guys just to be transactional. I've watched and you do it for transformational reasons, meaning that it's transformed you, and now you have used that, your experience with God, your experience with your friends, your personal experience and growth. You've taken all that and you've imposed that on your younger friends, the young men that you lead. And now you've made transitional moments for them through your transformation. So with all of this mentorship you've received, your dad, your grandfathers, your old dudes that you hang out with at church, all of that information, and you've put it together now, you are translating it for your own life, but you're passing it on to others. How do you pass that on to the young guys that you influence and the young guys that follow you? How do you package that and transfer that through your transformation?
I think you have to do it in bite-sized pieces. You can't, I've learned so much from these old guys, as I call them, the old heads.
The old heads.
They're my friends. They're not just old guys that I hang out with, but they with the newer guys in my life that, or the younger guys in my life, I can't just feed them everything I've learned over the last 2 years from the older guys. It's little nuggets here and there of, I heard Pastor Barry say this once, and this helped me a lot, rather than dropping everything on them at once. It's like I have tools in my tool belt now, and all right, a nail needs to be pushed in. Let's bring out the hammer. We're not going to bring out a screwdriver or drop the whole tool belt on them.
That's good. That's really good and very insightful.
So I think giving it to them piece by piece and trying to imitate the old heads and the wisdom that they walk in and give out. I think that's how to approach letting newer, younger believers and men in your life understand.
That takes time and patience too, doesn't it?
Yes. Yes.
So you feel sometimes what old guys feel. Oh my God. Are you asking me this again? Like, are we walking through this puddle of mud again? Right. And a follow-up question to that is, what are some of the biggest challenges or deficits that you see exemplified in your generation when it comes to preparing for manhood, business, preparing to be a father? What are some of the deficits and challenges that you've observed in your friends, your generation, even some older guys older than you? What are some of those?
I think a lot of it comes down to surrender, and a lot of it is surrendering the world. A lot of culture or the world seeps into these guys, and they don't want to let go of it because they don't want to stop having fun, or they don't want to be held to a new higher standard and have all these rules that they have to follow now. But they don't understand that there's blessings on the other side of that. Blessings that we can't even fathom are on the other side of letting go and true surrender. And just a paradigm shift from forward thinking rather than new instant worldly instant gratification type of thinking is a big roadblock for a lot of people, and definitely still is for me in areas of my life. I want things quick. Most people want things quick.
Sure.
But playing the long game and having faith in the long game
that's really good.
Is a tough one for a lot of people, I think.
Faith in the long game. That's really good. If you could say anything to your generation, those who are just a little bit behind you, those who are where you are, and those who are a little bit ahead of you, if you could say anything to them, what is it you would say about this preparation for manhood, fatherhood, being a great husband? What would you say?
Keep showing up.
Keep showing up.
That's what I say to everyone when they're in a new church group or whatever they're in. Find your men, find your circle, and keep showing up.
Find your men, find your circle, keep showing up. What would you say to the old heads, the old guys? Like, not just those that you're connected with, but like, if you could say to old guys, if they're all squared away personally, what would you say about this to them, about influencing the generation behind them?
If you are successful, you've gotten all buttoned together, find out the blueprint that God has blessed you with and share that with someone younger that could use it. We're not called to keep our gifts to ourselves. What's something in your life that you have a blueprint to that God blessed you with that you can give to someone else and they don't have to go through the tensions? You can relieve that tension for them and help them grow by avoiding an unnecessary season.
Especially if they grew up without a father.
Especially.
Now, this is the last question. Now, what is it that you would say to these same old guys in how to approach your generation? What would you say to them?
You really don't have to do too much. As long as we're met with respect, we're already looking up to you. There isn't this lame old guy. No, I look at every old man in the church, and I'm like, wonder what I can learn from that guy. What's a blueprint that this guy has that I can get out of him? And it's not transactional like that, where I'm just looking for information out of you and trying to use you in any type of way. But be vulnerable with these young guys. Show them who you are. Be respectful to them. And bless them with a blueprint that God gave you.
Respectful and bless them with a blueprint. Sam, you're just wise beyond your years. Just super wise.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I appreciate you being here. We'll have to do this again and maybe get an old head in here or two and talk about the generational gap of what we need to do to help. And this would probably be a really good podcast, except all the old heads around you all like to talk a lot, so it might be long. But talk about how to bridge the gap between the generations, because I think that we're entering into some time here where we need each other. Like, you can interpret for us, your generation can interpret some clarity for us and some things that you're looking for, and vice versa, instead of the old heads getting frustrated and clamming up and hanging out with other old guys that just get all crotchety and clammy. It's better to share what you have.
Yep.
Right?
For sure.
All right, Sam, thank you. This is Barry with FatherSeekers, and this is the podcast Teach Me to Father. And if you need help being a good dad, learning the process, go to fatherseekers.org and connect with us and begin to test some of the free stuff out. The big one is this podcast, Teach Me to Father, on all your favorite podcast platforms. This is Barry with FatherSeekers, and this is the podcast, Teach Me to Father.